Behind one of the most reproduced images in American culture is a history that rarely gets told. Rosie the Riveter became a national symbol, but her story began as a wartime labor campaign designed to solve a workforce shortage during World War II. In 1942, the Bureau of Labor Statistics warned that the U.S. faced a 6 million worker shortfall. With men leaving for military service, the federal government needed women to fill industrial jobs at unprecedented scale. The Office of War Information, private industry, and the media launched a coordinated effort to recruit women into the workforce. Rosie entered American culture through a 1942 song about a fictional factory worker. At the same time, Pittsburgh artist J. Howard Miller created a series of morale posters for Westinghouse Electric. One featured a woman in a polka dot bandana beneath the words, "We can do it." It appeared only inside Westinghouse plants for 2 weeks in February 1943. It wasn't widely known, and it wasn't yet connected to Rosie. The Rosie most Americans recognized during the war came from Norman Rockwell. His May 29, 1943 Saturday Evening Post cover showed a denim-clad woman with a rivet gun and an American flag behind her. The Treasury Department used the image to promote war bonds, making it the dominant wartime version of Rosie. Several women have been linked to Rosie's image. Geraldine Hoff Doyle, Rose Will Monroe, and Rosalind P. Walter all contributed to the cultural story. The strongest claim comes from Naomi Parker Fraley, photographed in 1942 wearing a polka dot bandana while working at the Naval Air Station in Alameda. Rosie was never meant to represent one individual. She symbolized millions of women who entered the workforce during the war. During World War II, Rosie became the public face of women's contributions on the home front. Before the war, women made up less than 1% of the aircraft industry's workforce. As men left for military service, women stepped into roles previously closed to them. By 1943, they made up more than 65% of the U.S. aircraft industry. Across the country, women welded, riveted, operated cranes, drove streetcars, and kept factories running. By 1944, 18 million women were employed nationwide. Their wages, however, remained significantly lower than men's. More than 350,000 women served in uniform during the war. Members of the Women's Army Corps, WAVES, SPARS, and the Marine Corps Women's Reserve filled over 200 non-combat roles. The Women's Air Force Service Pilots, the WASPs, became the first women to fly American military aircraft, logging more than 60 million miles. 38 died in service. Their contributions were not formally recognized until 1977. When the war ended, many women were laid off or reassigned as veterans returned to industrial jobs. But the wartime experience had a lasting impact. Women had gained technical skills, economic independence, and a new understanding of their place in the workforce. Miller's "We Can Do It" poster resurfaced in the 1980s and became widely adopted as a symbol of women's rights. Today, Rosie represents a broader and more inclusive understanding of women's labor, leadership, and contribution to American history. Rosie the Riveter reflects the scale and significance of women's work during World War II. Her story continues to highlight how access, opportunity, and recognition shape women's history. At the National Women's History Museum, we preserve and share these histories so they remain visible, understood, and connected to the ongoing work for equity.